Hey, everybody, welcome to Hurricane Center. Hurricane Center live for August the 19th. So good to have you along with us today. An exciting program today. I think you're going to enjoy this. We're going to go inside Hurricane Ian and the storm surge. Scott Withers is going to join us in just a little bit to talk about his experience, not just with that, but with hurricanes and weather in general. I'm excited about that. We'll get to that. But first, let's thank our sponsors who make this program a reality week in and week out. We start with USAA. We start with them because they started with us back when we first got this program started, when we started doing the National Tropical Weather Conference and everything else. They were involved, and we appreciate USAA. The South Padre Island Convention and Visitors Bureau, the host of the National Tropical Weather Conference every year, will be back there in April of 2027. Is that right already? 2027. We'll be at the Hilton Garden Inn, and we invite you to join us there. Live View, make sure our broadcast from all of the broadcasters there get back to their home markets, and the Texas Weather Network, the newest member of the Hurricane Center Live fan club. We appreciate them for being part of this. Joining us as always today, former director of the National Hurricane Center, Mr. Bill Reed. Good morning, Bill. Where are you joining us from this morning, and what's your dew point?
74. I almost had to put lotion on this morning. It was so dry. The picture I'm using for a background, I shot exactly a year ago today down on the seawall in front of the Galvez Hotel, so Hal would recognize the view from there. It was a beautiful sunrise. I don't know if there's even any clouds down there this morning. Hal, are there?
Oh, it's really clear skies. It's been pretty dry, not a lot of shower activity, a lot of sunshine, hot weather, warm water. The only difference, the tourists are gone. I call it summer part 2 in Galveston. It's still hot and dry, but no tourists here on the beach as much.
Yeah, it's safe now for people like Donna and I to go down there and visit.
It doesn't take an hour to get across the bridge, right? That's the way
exactly.
It is. Yep, that's Hurricane Hal, that other voice you're hearing, Dr. Hal Needham. Good morning, Hal. How are you doing this morning?
Good morning, Tim. Doing great. Always great to join you guys. I'm here in Galveston, and like I said, it's sunny, hot. We haven't seen really much convection at all. Just been very dry, but very hot.
We're down here in deep South Texas. I'm in the booming city of Edinburgh. We had one thunderstorm on Monday, dropped 2.5 inches of rain, and it was about 3 miles wide, and it stayed right there, and it was done. That was it. And my house got about half of that, and a block away got nothing. So it was really there's nothing planned anytime soon. So we're good to see everybody this morning. Good to have you along. Our guest today is meteorologist and author Scott Withers, who's been in this industry for a while, spent his career studying storms and the atmosphere and telling the stories behind the storms. He's going to talk today about all things meteorology, but in particular his book, Ian Surge, Surviving a Cat 4 Hurricane. Scott, welcome to the program.
Hey, good to be with you. I'll tell you right now, down here in Miami, what we've got is historical heat. Yesterday, I don't know if you guys saw this, hottest recorded day ever in Miami, 100 degrees. So it's just been crazy hot here and no rain. We're just not getting any rain. We're in some places 10, 12, 15 inches below normal. And this is our rainy season. So everything this year is way off.
Well, and I saw, it set a record high and also had a record high dew point, but not at the same time. Thank gosh.
Not at the same time, no. But yeah, so it's just brutally hot out there for us today. And again, just nothing. We're getting absolutely no whatsoever, and you all know that the season this year, the Atlantic season, has been, knock on wood, extremely quiet.
Well, let's hope it stays that way. Bill will give us a tropical update in just a little bit. Well, let me start by asking you, let's go before the book. Let's just talk about meteorology and your interest in it, how you got involved in this, as Bill calls it, the defective gene that we all have.
Yeah, it started with my grandfather, Lyle, when I was a little boy growing up in mid-Michigan. We would, whenever there was a big storm heading towards us, we lived up in the Thumb. Whenever we had tornado watch or tornado warnings, he'd come on over and we'd stand out because we could see for miles and miles in the distance across the fields. And he'd point out all the different types of clouds and all of that. So that's how it kind of started for me. And then he'd be like, it's time to go down in the basement. And so then we'd run down in the basement before anything got too close. Fast forward many decades. And I was a journalist for a while doing news. And then I was working over at Good Morning America for a long time with Ginger Z. And at that time, Rob Marciano, and I was their field producer. So I was traveling the country with them, covering every type of storm you could possibly think of. And riding in the car with them, field producers. So whenever they were out covering on the beach, I was standing about 1.5 feet away from them the entire time for years and years on end. And, and I started picking up on it again. And that love that my grandfather had shared with me early on, I was like, I could do this. So I went back to school to get my meteorology degree while I was still working full time at Good Morning America. And they helped me. Rob and Ginger and the entire team there helped me kind of get through the classes, explaining stuff. They kind of became my mentors. And it finally got through, graduated, kept going, got my master's in environmental sciences because I really love earthquakes and volcanoes too. And then my time at GMA just kind of, it was time to move on. I loved them both and to venture out. And I landed a great job over at Scripps News for a while, being their senior meteorologist, traveling across the country, covering all the hurricanes and floods and natural disasters and helping people understand and stay safe with those. And then that entity changed and reworked, and I was able to leave there. And now I'm down here in Miami at the CBS affiliate here, and loving it and doing the weather and all of that here for the people of South Florida. So it's been a great, wacky trip that I did not expect. I never thought I'd be doing the weather here in Miami, and I never thought I'd be, working with some of the big names in weather coverage in this country. But it's been a great road, and I've learned and experienced and witnessed so much. It's hard to put it all into perspective sometimes.
Well, that's fascinating. What a road to this. And of course, there are friends, yes. Rob and Ginger and everybody else over there are good friends and have been part of this program as well. Bill, go ahead and jump in because I want to get you started because your questions are always the best. Well, Hal's are good too, but go ahead.
Yeah. You got the mute button set for Hal, right? No, I'm a lover of all books about storms, especially the hurricanes, obviously. So when I saw you were going to be on here, that's what fascinated me. And Ian is a perfect one to write about because when I was at the Hurricane Center, I left there in 2012, and the issue we were having with the west coast of Florida is it had been so long since any impacts. The people that hadn't lived there, yes, even some people who lived there a long while thought they weren't really at risk. And Irma teased them, and then Ian, these ice storms are a mess. Ian proved the point that we had that storm surge can be really wicked on the west coast of Florida. So how about if you tell us a little bit about what sparked your desire to write a book about Ian?
So this was the first time, and I've covered many, many of these storms, basically from the North Carolina, the Outer Banks, all the way down to South Padre Island. I've covered all of these hurricanes for years, all different sizes, from tropical depressions where it's just a light rain up to, Michael and those types of things that have come rushing ashore and just causing widespread devastation and death. And I've been in all of those. Ian was different. And the reason it was different is because it started out not, if you remember back, it started out not heading towards Fort Myers Beach. It was going towards the Big Bend and then Tampa. For days, everyone was Tampa. It's coming to Tampa the first time in 100 years. All the media was there, the governor, everyone was focused on getting Tampa ready. And then it wobbled. And because of the geography of Florida and a storm coming into the Gulf at that trajectory, a small wobble to the east has a dramatic impact or change on the impact zone because of the geography. Just a small little wobble moves it, 50, 100 miles. So then it quickly moved from Tampa to Fort Myers, and we had to move fast down to Fort Myers. Well, along the way, there was just a lot of issues behind the scenes, trying to get the support that we needed. We were out in the field. It was just a two-man team at that time, myself and my photographer. When we arrived on the shore, we did the best that we could to get up to speed and get our places. We found safety places. We found backup safety places. But then when it came ashore, everything changed because it was technically a category 5 for a while there. It came ashore as a category 4, but it was even at the time that right before it made landfall, it was it was right there at the borderline. So we started losing connectivity with our office space and with our support system. We could get through on the phone very weakly, but we lost all connection for data. We didn't know any type of when the surge was coming in, the timing of the storm, anything. So we started moving back. And when we did, we just got caught in the surge because of some geography. And I had never lived through anything like this. I'd never been in a situation where I thought, ever in 2 decades, thought that I was going to not survive. And in the course of 12 hours, I thought that multiple times because this storm was so deadly and so quickly. And like you said, people in the area we hadn't had a storm in that geography in a while of that kind of caliber. So no one was really prepared for what happened so quickly. And it took me years to decide that I wanted to write this. And it took me a long time to actually write it, but it was really therapeutic to actually put it down. One of my aunts said, when I read it, I cried every page because I know how hard it was for you to go through it at the time and to go through it again. But she said, did it help? And I said, yeah, it helped a lot. It really did.
Wow. Yeah. When Ian happened and there was all the chatter about it, it didn't go where it was forecast. I beg to differ with another subject. What sunk my heart on that storm was Charlie, just less than 2 decades before that, had done the same thing.
Yeah.
Over here, we've had storms. They do that a lot. I mean, it's not within our skill set 48 hours before landfall to say your house is gone, that house up the road is going to be fine. And hopefully your book will help people understand that, and they will not get caught in that bind generations down the road when the next Ian comes by.
Right. And you also have to keep in mind there's so much happening with a large storm like that. All of the governmental officials and agencies in Florida are doing the best that they can. And they're trying to process as much information because at the bottom line, everybody wants to do one thing: protect everybody's life. That is what we're doing, what the government's doing, what everybody's trying to do. So it's hard for people that are not in the industry, that don't understand the atmosphere, to understand how just that is all it takes, and it changes the cone. And that's kind of what happened leading up to it. But people moved quickly. They responded quickly down in the Fort Myers area as fast as they possibly could. The people that wanted to, I should say, because there were a lot of people down there, and that's unfortunately part of the book, is there were a lot of people that, and we run into this every time out in the field. I don't got to go. It's not going to be that bad. You guys are overhyping it. We never get storms like that. That kind of denialism was alive and well for a large number of people. And unfortunately, many of those people lost their lives. Yeah,
I actually was fearing there'd be a lot more just from the size and intensity combined. I knew it was going to be a wicked surge. Where exactly did you position yourselves that you got in such a dilemma?
So the way it all transpired is we were out on Fort Myers Beach, and we were there hours beforehand. And then it started. We started to see. It hadn't made it onshore yet or anything like that. The wind started picking up, the rain was picking up. So we fell back off Fort Myers Beach Island and came inshore to just outside one of the marinas there. And there's an area there called Hurricane Bay. And that's where we were kind of positioned, and we were aimed to head out quickly and head up the road towards Fort Myers proper. The problem became the surge came through before we expected, because we'd lost all communications really with the internet, so we couldn't get any live updates. And it came up into Hurricane Bay, but it went in through this mangrove forest. So we couldn't really tell that the surge was heading our way at the time because it was kind of shrouded in these trees. So where we were at was still all nice and dry. Everything we were looking at was still well above water. We could see the marina. But the way that it was coming through the mangroves, it was going in, around, and behind us. Mm-hmm. So by the time that we realized, wait, what's happening, and we got into the car to start heading out, it was already over the road because it kind of surrounded us and came in, kind of flanked us, and that's why we got stuck where we did. Wow.
Did you know the elevation you were at that place?
Yeah, so we knew we were only maybe a foot and a half, maybe. We were at the highest elevation point that you could. If you're familiar with the area, there's a little bridge that goes up and then over and then back down to the island. And we were right in that area. So that was kind of the highest elevation that we could be at. But we didn't know that the elevation had transposed so much between us and just a football field away. And that's all it took, because if you're standing there, the elevation looked the same, but it really was just kind of, it wasn't. And that's all that water needed to come in and get in behind us. And that's why we just kind of got stuck where we did. And then the other big learning point from this is don't ever drive an electric started vehicle out into one of these storms, because once the salt water got into the undercarriage of our vehicle, everything was fried. So the vehicle was just dead instantly, and we were just stuck there.
Wow. Tim, I'm going to hand it off to you because we're close to midpoint, and then I want to come back to Hal because he's our storm surge expert.
Yeah, there's a lot to unfold here. This is fascinating, and this is a good story. Let's thank our sponsors again, midway through the program, that are part of this program week in and week out. USAA, the South Padre Island Convention and Visitors Bureau, LiveView, and the Texas Weather Network. We appreciate all of them for making this a possibility. Okay, Bill, cue up your hurricane update for the week. What's going on in the tropics? Gladly, there's not a lot, but go ahead.
Actually, there's a lot, but it's not affecting the mainland U.S., so it doesn't seem like a lot.
Exactly.
Just a point here for you guys are all in the communications business. I think next year's Weather Person of the Year will be the first on-air meteorologist that properly pronounces that word. I can't. It's not. It's part of it's the northwest part of the Hawaiian Island chains, the geophysical aspect of it. They're mostly unpopulated except Midway in there, but just thought that was interesting. Lala did a job on us last night. It's currently a solid Category 3. It was not expected to strengthen that much, even though it was overachieving as it went west of the Hawaiian Islands, and it still has a good intercore structure, albeit small, and that's probably why it did what it did. It was small enough that it found the opportunity of the right conditions that defied what we were forecasting. And yesterday it went through a fairly stout rapid intensification. This is the Dvorak scheme, automated Dvorak scheme out of Wisconsin. And there it shows how fast our storm increased yesterday and continues in that strength today. The forecast is it's all over open water. It's going to go past the marine sanctuary. I don't think Midway expects a direct hit in there, but they'll get some of the big waves and impacts as it goes by. And even though it'll weaken some, it's going to stay a hurricane for at least a couple more days before hitting colder water and drier air. We'll see if it really drops off that fast. Broader view of the Pacific, we got... there's Lala. Shows you how far it's gone from the Hawaiian Islands. Come on, baby. This system down here is looking eerily similar in location to where Lala formed. A lot of convection down here, starting to show some of the features that you look for development. And the Hurricane Center has that as any time now in the next few days, a depression or storm forming and heading in the general direction of just south of the Hawaiian Islands. But remember, you're not seeing this live. Please check the latest, because without a center form, where it actually goes could be quite a bit different than what we're speculating on at this point in time. The Atlantic's quiet. There's nothing in the 7-day outlook for development. There's the convection out here is mostly with the monsoonal trough that is at its peak in this time of the year off of Africa. Not shown in this loop are a couple of fairly decent waves, African easterly waves coming across the continent that'll come out either this weekend or early next week. And there is some hint that we'll go from being quiet to kind of busy like we're supposed to the last week of August. Our friend Michael Lowry had this in his post this morning from the Google DeepMind, the probability of tropical cyclone anywhere in the time frame between now and the 2nd of September. I know that doesn't really narrow it down, but hey, in a quiet year, we clutch at straws for something to look at, and that's what you got. For those that that like to know what the general expectations are. CPC puts out the weeks 2 and 3 outlook for tropical development, and in the El Nino we're in, it's pretty classic, dry and no chance of development in the Caribbean all the way into the southern Gulf, and we're going to be dominated by the high pressure, and that'll tend to protect the U.S. even if these develop off of Africa. I think we're looking at Atlantic storms recurving out into the Atlantic if they don't get sheared apart.
So yeah, like on the Pacific side, but on Atlantic side, let's just hope it stays like that for the next 3 months. We'll be all right.
I told Mortimer he needs to buy a house out in the Big Island of Hawaii now. He's changed his tune about chasing in Hawaii. He went out there for La.
We'd have to do a program live from there. I think it's a great idea. We'll all head out there once he does that. Great job, Bill. Thank you. Appreciate that. Hal, as you get ready to ask your questions, first let me ask you about the GeoTrek podcast. We saw today that you shared with us that Hurricane Center and GeoTrek are in the top 10 in disaster podcast. Tell us what's going on with GeoTrek. And we're glad to be side by side, just like we talked about Indiana and Penn State football, side by side, as always.
Tim, even better, we're actually both in the top 5 right now. Hurricane Center is number 4, GeoTrek's number 5. Hey, we'll take it, but both doing similar things, engaging stories, not only sharing the meteorology and the physical science, but the social science as well. We just released a podcast yesterday where we featured Gina Spagnola. She's the CEO and president of Galveston Regional Chamber of Commerce. She shared in depth the work that chambers of commerce do, not only in Texas, Louisiana, really all over in disaster-prone areas. There's the Chamber of Commerce behind the scenes to help the business community recover after a disaster. So if you run a small business, if you're involved with the business community, check out that podcast. It's called the GeoTrek Podcast, and it's a special episode on what chambers of commerce are doing to help business communities recover after a hurricane or a natural disaster.
Always a fascinating listen, and we appreciate all you do with that, Hal. Great. Thank you. Appreciate that. All right, take it away, Hal. Jump in with some questions.
Yeah, I mean, the story that Scott shared about getting cut off by the surge, I can relate to it. I've been doing hurricane fieldwork for 18 years. I run the U.S. Storm Surge database. I thought I'd seen it all with storm surge. Just a few years ago in Hurricane Helene, I went into St. Petersburg to document surge coming into homes, and I was out there for a few hours. I was exhausted. I thought I'm going to find a place that's high and dry and rest for a little bit. I'm there in my SUV resting, and I realized, hang on a second. When I came into this region, wasn't there a little dip in the road? Sure enough, surge snuck around the backside, and I almost got cut off and trapped there. So, Scott, I can absolutely relate to your story with Ian, and it's just so non-intuitive. You're looking around and you don't see salt water at all, and you're getting cut off from the backside.
Yeah, and that's exactly what happened. And we were fortunate. I want to say real quick, there are 3 people that I dedicated this book to, and I really need to thank them because I wouldn't be here right now without them. Matt Simonson, Robbie Donzi, and Ryan Goebel. They were in a boat riding it out, and we couldn't see them, but they saw us. They waded out through hip deep water, got us, pulled us out of our SUV, helped lead us back, and we rode out Ian on their fishing boat in the marina. We were slamming into buildings, we were slamming into trees, we were almost tipping over. We got trapped, entangled in the electric wires, the high electric wires. Once the surge came in, the boat almost capsized multiple times. We were saying goodbye to people because we did not think we were getting out of it. So throughout the course of that day, multiple times, there were just, no matter what we did, Ian was just coming at us. And I will never forget standing inside that boat and looking through the windows and seeing buildings and houses just being ripped apart and just being picked up, and 2-story houses and floating through the marina. It was the strength. I've never seen that before. I've never experienced that before. And I've been through Maria and Michael. It was just so intense right there in that small little area. And I do remember seeing people that did not survive that were standing up on their roofs out on the beach because there was nowhere else to go. And the surge was already up to their roof line. And they were some of the casualties, unfortunately.
Scott, a lot of people think of storm surge as a vertical rise of water. When you're in it, it's the flow of it. It's like a raging river. I mean, how did that strike you and Ian, and maybe, for you, like seeing things or experiencing things you hadn't seen or even imagined before?
And that's exactly it. It's kind of both. It's going up, and it's also the flow literally we were in a huge SUV. And at some point in time, I knew that this thing was going to get picked up and moved if we just sat in it. We couldn't stay in it. It would have been flooded because it was way above the top of would have been way above the top of the SUV, but it also would have been picked up because it was just literally a raging river through that area, just knocking everything down, bursting into buildings. So there's a great photo. It circulated everywhere of my vehicle sitting underneath a 65-foot fishing boat called the Cracker Jack. If you Google it, it'll come up. And that's our car, our big SUV, smushed underneath this massive boat that wasn't even in that marina. They don't even know where that boat came from. It was pushed there far from much further away. So the devastation that we witnessed and the wind, it was just never ending. And the boat just kept shaking and rolling, and it was hard to stand up and stay functioning inside the boat. And then finally the captain, Robbie, of the fishing boat, it was his fishing boat, he said to us, guys, you need to put on your life jackets. We're going to have to abandon ship because we're going to capsize, and you're going to have a better chance of survival out in the water than you will in this boat because it will sink. Wow. So at that point in time, because we were tangled in the electric wires and we were flipping over, at that point in time, it was, we just knew that it was over. And it was I had come to peace with it an hour earlier, because I knew how devastated it was. And we just went from one bad situation and just progressively kept getting worse. And we were seeing the disaster unfolding around us in real time. And it's hard now still to even talk about it because I still have flashbacks. So like, I don't sit in the passenger seat of the car because I was in the passenger seat when the water started coming into the SUV. And I still can feel it and see it kind of coming up my legs. And then before we got out of the vehicle, it was up to I was in a sitting position. It was up to the seat. So my legs from my waist down were submerged when we finally got out of the vehicle.
You hear about disaster survivors talk about the mix of adrenaline, shock, time can actually slow down. I mean, did it slow down for you and you're basically just doing the thing in front of you, like moment by moment? I mean, how did you navigate this?
That's exactly what happened. Like it was going at regular speed, but everything was just kind of moving. I would turn to Kyle, who's my photographer and driver, and I said, we have to get out of this car, because we were at this point where we didn't know if we should follow these guys because we couldn't see anywhere safe to go, but it was our only choice. So when we got out, the boat wasn't close. We had a football field that we had to go through of this raging water that was up to my waist and kept rising as we were going through it and dodging debris and walking through this. And then when we got to the boat, which was tied down in a dock, you have to remember everything's under 3 or 4 feet of water. So I didn't know where the end of the dock was. So I was afraid it was going to fall off into the water. So it was just the drama of seeing this boat floating there and nothing else. There was no land anywhere. And knowing that I'm kind of standing in the Gulf now because the Gulf is all around me, I didn't know my footing, how to keep going. So I was tapping and sliding my feet to make sure there was still solid ground. So I couldn't move fast. Now I had to go slow and try and follow these guys and follow their exact same path through the water so that we could climb up on the boat.
Unbelievable story. Bill, Tim, I'll pass it over to you. Thanks for sharing this, Scott.
Yeah, go ahead, Bill. We're getting close to the end of the half hour. If you got a last question or two, that'd be great.
I really do. After that experience, I assume the nature of your job and the defective gene that all of us on this show have, that you will do this again. What will you do different?
So I did it right away. I was not going to allow this storm to take that away from me because it's who I am. So now whenever I was traveling again, I traveled with my own mini Starlink, so that I was never disconnected and I was checking everything myself. I could constantly have the real data. I won't allow myself to just to kind of base my safety off from public cell phone service. That's not going to happen ever again. I'm never going to stay or position myself anywhere near the landfall location with less than 12 hours. We're going to be back before that. There's a lot of things. And I'm not trying to be dramatic. One of the very last things we did on the boat, and I picked this up from a sheriff's deputy out in Louisiana many years ago. He used to hand people, when people wouldn't leave, he would hand them a Sharpie and say, make sure you write your name on your chest. So if you get swept away in the storm, we find your body, we know how to contact your next of kin. So when we were on the boat, we did that with Mark. We had a Sharpie and we wrote our names on our chest. I did, because I didn't think I was getting out. So now when I travel, and it sounds horrible, whenever I would cover storms again, I would carry Sharpies. And when people would tell me that they are not leaving, I would give them one, because it's not just about you and your survival. Let me tell you, this was extremely dramatic for my husband. He was basically having a mental breakdown in real time in Atlanta. My mom, my dad, my siblings. It's not just you that are being impacted. It is your entire family and your friends, and they were watching it live on television. So when people in these areas are being told to leave, we've got to communicate with them better. And that's my goal, about why they have to leave. And that's kind of why I wrote this book, because everyone thinks they can survive it, including me, who's had a decade or more experience. You can't win against a hurricane, and you cannot win against storm surge. You have to leave, and you have to leave early.
That's a great message. It's not just your family and friends either. You've got all the first responders who are risking their lives to pull your dumb neck out of the water that get stuck out there, and then their families are worrying about them. So it's a very complicated thing, and I think it's great that you wrote this book with that message in mind.
Yeah, it at the end of the day, what this did for me, this experience for me, is just verify how committed I have to be to try and help people understand that nature is beautiful and weather is fantastic, but it's also extremely dangerous, and we will never, ever win. Weather will always win. And you have to be prepared, and you have to, when you're told to evacuate, you have to evacuate.
That's a great message to wrap with. We appreciate that. The book is called Ian's Surge, Surviving a Cat 4 Hurricane. Where's it available, Scott?
Best place to get it is Amazon, but it's also in a couple weeks coming out as a audiobook on Audible. It's the emotion is, you're going to hear it in my voice throughout the entire book. So it's great on Amazon. You can also go to iansurge.com.
Terrific. We appreciate your time, Scott. Thank you very much. Great program. Wish we had time for the 75 questions we have here, but I think we got through 4. Hal, what did we learn today?
I mean, I really love this message that you can't win against the surge. It's just gonna, not only the height of it, but it's a raging river, and you can't win. Your house can't win. Your vehicle can't win. You need to get out of that surge zone.
Terrific. Bill, what's your takeaway today?
Well, I love the fact that the way Scott told the story is that he acknowledged all through there that he wasn't doing the right thing at that time. A lot of people try to justify why they're out in the middle of a storm surge. And I think it's great that you didn't do that.
And I think we take with us too that Scott's one of the experts, one of the people that does this for a living, and still found yourself in trouble. And I think that speaks volumes to what those who I'm just going to be a thrill seeker and try it once. It's just a terrible idea. So Scott, thank you. We appreciate your time today. Great program. Let's thank our sponsors. Thank our sponsors. Make the program a reality week in and week out. USAA, South Padre Island Convention and Visitors Bureau, Live View, and the Texas Weather Network. Great program today. Next week, Dr. Phil Klotzbach is back with us once again to talk about seasonal forecasting, where we stand this season and where we're headed for the rest of the 2026 hurricane season. For Hal Needham, Bill Reed, Scott Withers, and Alex Garcia back in the control room, thanks for being with us today. We'll see you again next week. Take care. Bye-bye.